Welcome to Talking Tech Journeys, hosted by me, Ben Whiteley of BPM Tech. We're delighted to bring you season 1 of Talking Tech Journeys. The aim is clear, to bring you some of the most engaging and respected figures within tech and transformation, providing a snapshot of their journeys to share knowledge, ideas and insights on all things tech and transformation. Sit back, relax and enjoy the journey. Hi, welcome to Talking Tech Journeys. I'm Ben Whiteley and delighted to be joined by Hasib Aftab, previous CIO at Operos Health and now founder of 31 Green, a tech development provider and digital transformation consultancy. Really looking forward to this. Thanks very much for joining. Hi, Hasib. How are things with yourself?
Hi, Ben. I'm good, thank you. How are yourself?
Good. Yeah, looking forward to exploring your exciting entrepreneurial health journey further, and let's take you straight back. So how, why and when did you sort of first become interested in healthcare and technology?
I would say my journey within healthcare and technology started following my studies. So I studied BAc Honours Pharmaceutical and then did Masters in Information Technology. On a personal level, I was interested in working in healthcare technology, and during my final years, I worked on analyzing lots of healthcare data and impact that has on different case studies. We looked at developing some tools and systems during my final year projects, and particularly in my master's. And then that led me to work into my first work experience within healthcare. And looking at hospitals, waiting lists, analyzing how could we reduce the waiting list and ease of booking, etc. So this was my NHS various jobs. Then I worked in NHS IT and NHS digital type projects within NHS for various years. And I worked my way up from kind of working at my first job, which was actually post my work experience, was as a manager within healthcare settings, and then into NHS IT.
Yeah. So, I mean, just in terms of taking you back to that first position then, I mean, what is it that you were doing and how did that sort of spark the journey and, you sort of looking at exploring and really sort of setting that foundation for the early years in your career into the NHS?
To be honest, frankly speaking, I don't think it was a great experience because I left university and felt the technology and healthcare experience would kind of enable what I feel would be good career. And my first experience was quite tough because I was thrusted into as a work experience role looking at NHS waiting list data. And some of the suggestions were around how could we improve the experience of patients, reducing waiting time, booking data. Wasn't taken really well by the managers working within. And that's when everybody was dealing with paper. You used to get paper referral letter saying your appointment is booked X day, and there was no communication back. So you were sent a letter and you turned up in your hospital and there was always that. So my first experience was pretty tough, I would say, and that kind of shaped also my journey within healthcare tech.
Which obviously we'll come on to later, but yeah, I know it's so prominent points in terms of waiting lists and sort of patient sort of care and experience. So be interesting to see how the your experience and the world has evolved, and how you've played a small part in that. So just in terms of your journey within the NHS then, so I mean, aside from the analysis of waiting lists, what came next for you? 'Cause it was about 10 years you spent there?
So I'll go back and I started my kind of real job as a working in clinical care setting. So I was that allowed me to kind of develop my early understanding and foundation how the healthcare is delivered, how does providers, patients, suppliers are connected in this ecosystem. And then that led me to work within healthcare IT roles specifically. And that kind of gave me huge understanding how a very complex healthcare system in UK, particularly within NHS, which is very difficult for end users to understand because you've got primary care, mental health, community, hospital, social care, voluntary sector, all behind the scenes helping various parts of complex patient journey. So I worked my way up from within IT roles all the way up to kind of director role within IT functions within NHS. I would say it brought huge satisfaction to my early years and early career because I was developing and connecting things which it had a major impact within healthcare. So again, I'm going back 15, 18 years where the first part of NHS Spine was rolled out, electronic referral, electronic prescribing. And to be honest, it was new and it required me to work with people who were just adopting the technology to kind of to deliver healthcare. So that was kind of early years. Then moved on to more, I would say, bigger projects which allowed connecting different ecosystems of healthcare. And then subsequently, I kind of went on to co-founded a tech business within healthcare.
Good. Which obviously, we're sort of just going to come on to now. So pulling from all that experience, I mean, when did you sort of realise you could innovate with technology to assist health, social care, the NHS?
I think even as early as my first technical role, I'd worked with some visionary clinicians. So I kind of recall my journey back, and one of the first things I'd spoke to one of the clinicians. He said, "Look, wouldn't it be amazing if we can send a text message to patients for reminding of the appointment?" And bearing in mind those days, the text message was 10p a patient, 10p per message. And we looked at that and we thought, a certain percentage of people are now got mobile phones. Let's use the technology to enable that, and that was a huge success. Then kind of moved on, working with different set of clinicians who were like, look, could we use audio to dictate our letters and reduce our workload? So I was exposed to a huge number of innovators within healthcare. That kind of, I would say, kind of made my journey into healthcare entrepreneurship kind of easier, I would say. So that's how it kind of started in my mind, how the journey started. But those early projects and difficult things to roll out kind of taught me huge things. How to kind of do patient engagement, how to do a stakeholder engagement. I go back to some of my early projects where actually when you rolled out new systems, the digital literacy within the workforce was minimal. So our challenge was not like, okay, this system will do X, Y, Z. Actually, our challenge was, will the end user be able to use the system and use it to its full potential? So the whole focus was really around digital adoption and being able to do that. And a lot of this kind of ideas that actually may sound basic right now, originally that's what the innovation was needed to scale up healthcare delivery.
Yeah, which, like you said, I know sort of the challenges probably still sort of exist in terms of health and social care and NHS with sort of that drive and sometimes resistance to innovate.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is driven then from fear of what's going, what impact is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think one of my biggest learning between working my time with the NHS and working as a solution provider has been how as a organization who's trying to deliver change takes a small calculated risk. But when you're working within NHS, this is kind of seen as very tough because you're like, okay, how are we going to manage this? And that's unknown. And that shift in culture is much required right now in this day and age. to kind of look at how people can adopt new innovation, new technology,
Yeah.
and then embrace it, really.
Yeah, sort of iterative change over time as opposed to sort of disruptive.
Yeah, I think if you do a big bang, it's always going to get people nervous.
Mm.
So if you're introducing these things in over a period of time, it's much
Yeah.
more palatable for both
Good.
end user and the service delivery.
Yeah, brill. Which we'll sort of touch on in what you're sort of doing in well today ultimately. So just taking you back to sort of 2018 then. So you, along with 6 other clinical directors and Omar Din, co-founded AT Group, AT, which includes AT Tech and AT Medics. And I think the vision was of improving healthcare through technology. So, I mean, what was the relationship between the clinical directors and how you sort of operated? How did they sort of influence you on your journey?
I think I'm very proud and honored to have worked with my co-founders, and the impact they've had on my journey is huge. I mean, it's very difficult to quantify.
Sure.
I've worked with very really visionary people in terms of how they saw we can have an impact on delivering healthcare. I go back to my 6 clinical directors, myself and Omar, who were non-clinicians, and knew what our strengths and weaknesses were. So we had people who were real expert in digital health, people who knew how to run a training business, people who knew how to do data science, people who knew how to run a clinical pathway design, able to work and innovate. So I think when we started to work together and bring the technology that we kind of co-founded and designed, we really believed in the sort of that impact it will have within the healthcare setting. And I think there were some tough times and there were some amazing good times, but actually we all knew what we believed in delivering. And we all had a different strength, and that drove our kind of I would say working together and being able to work and resolve some complex issue. Look, delivering innovation within healthcare is difficult. You've got IG issues, you've got information security issues, you've got patient consent, you've got technical challenges, you've got approval from NHS. So you've got various gates that you have to pass through. So you need a kind of team around that which knows how to handle different things.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if all else failed, we sat around the table every Friday, burger and chips, and that resolved a lot of our way forward.
Yeah. Sounds like I said, that the different sort of skills, background, experience sort of complemented one another, but play to each other's strengths, and ultimately sort of the art of delegation is probably key in sort of inception of a business, but then sort of scaling and growing.
Yeah, I think all of these come with the different challenges.
Yeah.
So to start with, you're trying to validate your idea. You're trying to get traction. You're trying to build something. You're trying to utilize it. Then comes as a different challenge. As your adoption gets going, you have lots of kind of, I would say, pushback from regulatory type requirements. People are looking at have you got certain compliances, certain ISOs, data protection, data sharing, etc. So you're having to go through not just, I've got a great idea, adopt it, but actually you're having to work with people who are expert in legal side of the data sharing. You're trying to work with people who are commercial side of kind of drawing up the contract. People are trying to work in liability insurance. So you're having to adopt different things in that phase, and then once you start to scale up, particularly technology, it brings different challenges, because you then have to have teams who are able to manage and resolve and push different sides of the business where you probably didn't experience 2 or 3 years ago. So as a healthcare tech company, you're always evolving, doing different things.
And then obviously just maybe 3 years into the journey, AT Group became part of Operos Health in 2021. So, I mean, so how did that sort of come about?
I think um, the synergy started with Operos Health operated similar type of services. We operated similar services. We had more practices and digital platform, and the journey kind of started in a way to us to then deliver those services across UK as the largest primary care provider. Operos Health was part of the very large US-based company called Centene Corporation, and that brought its own kind of scrutiny challenges to work with within healthcare. So I think when you merge with any company, you do things within healthcare and particularly service delivery within NHS. The challenges are always around, okay, are you doing the things what NHS required? How are you processing data? How are you sharing data? Who has access to it? So you are kind of working at different layers in different health economies. And all of a sudden, from very much predominantly London-based organization, we become a national organization across UK services, delivering all the way up to Leeds, Nottingham, etc. So you were exposed to different requirements and different ways of working.
Yeah,
very challenging, very exciting.
And I know, obviously, you were CIO for 2 years until sort of September 2023. So, I mean, how did your sort of role and priorities change sort of post-acquisition?
I think I touched on this in my last bit. I think when you bring two organizations together, you're not just bringing two sets of people, you're bringing different cultures, different ways of working, different technology, different cohort of patients, different services. So when we came together initially, like, for example, as a CIO, my job was, okay, what systems do we use? How do we optimize those? How could we scale up certain things? How could we reduce certain things? So a lot of the priorities were driven through how do we become a one organization and one central spine. So CIO's role actually kind of spans between, okay, looking at technology, looking at data, looking at security, looking at governance, and bigger teams. So a lot of the priorities were driven through actually how could we make sure that we're delivering a safe and robust service delivery. So focus was very much really on making sure that the things that we're using are robust, scalable, and we focus on actually rolling them out beyond our own organization.
And was there any sort of project, program, deliverable that you're sort of most proud of your time during the tenure?
So I think there are a few things we did, which is amazing in terms of rolling out a single patient-facing application, which allowed us to deliver care to over 700,000 population in the UK. No other primary care singly have done it, which meant a single technology interface, being able to kind of see people within a reasonable time frame, building a team that allowed kind of a technology and a clinical delivery into one, and we kind of scaled it up in different parts of the UK, and that was really proud moment for particularly for me and the team that worked with me for many years, because that kind of instantly allowed us to do different things. We built a business intelligence risk stratification platform. One time we had over 2-3 million people's data going through it, and we did a lot of clinical, delivered many clinical use cases and case studies, publicly available within a time, Whiteley Medical and Operos Health, which part of backed by fantastic clinical delivery and clinical directors and use of technology. And same time, we scaled in different offerings in different parts of UK, from workflow optimization training, business intelligence,
Sure.
connectivity to NSS network. So there are quite a few to mention, but I'm just giving the generic feel.
Yeah.
We did quite a lot of interesting, innovative things.
Brilliant. And towards the sort of the back end of the year, I know you maybe didn't have so much time off, but back into sort of co-founding another health tech business, 31 Green, or 31G as you refer it to, with your old colleague Omar Din. So yeah, I mean, it'd be good to know who 31G are and what sort of services you offer and provide.
I think, look, having worked within healthcare technology for over, I would say, almost 20 years now, it's within our DNA to kind of innovate and bring innovation. So after my last role, we were like, okay, what do we do next? And I think the idea was that, look, we can support a number of organizations who are trying to innovate within healthcare. And one of the things I recently learned is that there are over 350 suppliers who are trying to integrate with NHS systems, as we speak. And not everybody has the similar understanding how to navigate to get to, extract data, work with different ecosystems, meet compliance. So I thought, let's work on something that actually we can offer real value to people. And so 31G does three things in a nutshell. One is really technology development, really healthcare focus, and then we do consultancy. We also work in a partnership with other partners in terms of delivering different services. So not just within healthcare, but actually beyond healthcare.
Okay.
And I'll give you some examples later on.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of sort of your collaboration, you just touched on partnerships there. I mean, sort of who are you working with? What value are they adding? And I suppose why what are you most proud of and why in terms of the collaborations and partnerships that you've developed?
I think, again, reflecting on my career, working in partnership is actually working with right partners adds huge value to you and to them if you have the same mindset. So since launching of 31 Green, we've been working with a social prescribing platform company called Simply Connect. They they are part of healthcare, but actually more focusing on social prescribing. Really amazing solution. How that's kind of connecting, the much needed services that's required within social care. We've been involved in developing an ethical financing app, which has been launched in UK, UAE, and beyond.
Right.
We're working with a very innovative primary care provider called Bone Health, and they've got a vision on how they can improve healthcare of their patients and residents they deliver work with. And also things that we've done recently beyond UK, particularly in the UAE, where we are working with the healthcare ecosystem there to kind of add our know-how from delivering a scale healthcare technology services in the UK.
Brilliant. So quite an array of sort of different companies, clients, and global as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a journey we just started. So idea has always been to deliver services beyond UK.
So you mentioned sort of the integration with NHS systems. I mean, what are the sort of the key challenges that you have seen?
I think that's a kind of subject in itself and requires many discussions. But in summary, I think it's very complex. It's time consuming. It requires dedication, know-how, knowledge to drive that through. What you may think from currently, I don't know if there's a banking provider who's trying to integrate with a payment integration. It probably takes a few weeks, couple of months to get across the line. But within within healthcare, when you're building integrations, you've got multiple kind of boundaries to cross. You're looking at from getting assurance, getting information security, data sharing, architecture, supplier assuring you, NHS assuring you, and then lastly the commissioner who's going to buy you, want to go through the assurance. So no one integration is the same. It takes through a different journey, different use cases. So my advice is, if you're doing this, you need the right partner to do this sometime. If you've got internal capability, great. But if you haven't, it's better to kind of have that investment ready. And that's something that we learned early on ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we were like taking, okay, we can crack this. We got there, but it took a lot longer than what, business requirements were.
Yeah, like I say, it's probably a discussion for another day in detail. But yeah, thanks for the sort of summary. I mean, just in terms of your sort of health tech entrepreneurial background, you've obviously got, passion, resilience, drive for improving patient choice, access, outcomes to care, which is great. What sort of advice would you give for early startup entrepreneurs, of inception of ideas? How do they sort of create the foundation, set those sort of non-negotiables in terms of setting out on that journey?
I think, everybody in this space will have a slightly different advice. My reflections are really, if you're innovating, innovate fast, take some calculated risks in terms of getting things across the line.
Yeah.
Always think about adoption. I think a lot of the new companies who've got really innovative ideas, they're not focused on adoption. And then after adoption, really think about the commercialization element of the platform. How are you going to add value to existing things, and how that will be scaled up? I think other kind of connected things are people being partners, advisors. You need a good set of people who are able to work with you in tough times, good times. A network of organizations and people that you can, prove your use cases early, and right advisors, kind of giving you a real steer on kind of holding you accountable also same time to say, how can you add value? Most important is the ability to change quickly. So, where you may struggle, may you find things, you're able to adopt and change quickly.
Yeah.
And if you fail, fail fast, learn fast.
Yeah.
And never be satisfied in terms of what you do, and always look how you can do it better.
So yeah, you sort of touched on innovation, obviously fast. Like you said, I was going to say, fail fast. Obviously, the adoption, commercialization, sort of working with sort of partners. What about in terms of sort of scaling and growing a business in terms of, your product, your people, your processes, I mean, even your sort of technology and, sort of financial sort of routes, bootstrap, VC, etc. If you sort of any thoughts on that sort of the growth stage of a business?
I think as a founder, you have to be able to work and wear different hats all the time. You're one minute you'll be working with tech people, next minute you'll be working with people within HR. You may be solving problems which you've not worked with before. And also, I think as a founder, you have to take people with you in this journey. And a lot of the founders, they can relate to this. If people believe in your vision, people believe in your kind of product and platform, the journey is much easier. You have to be a bit more resilient in your day-to-day, because you have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah.
And I think for me, one of the major things has been building the dynamic teams who are able to help you in different areas.
Yeah.
So if team has been building platform, example, and they need to scale that up, they can work into that. Okay, fine. Let's now roll it out, train end users, develop different documentations. Again, find people who are dynamic, invest in them, train them, and take them through the journey.
I mean, just on that, you've touched on sort of people and dynamic team. How do you sort of get that sort of buy-in and engagement from your people?
You have to be open and honest, and I think people like that, and working with people who are in technology and healthcare, there's a lot of hurdles. I think we talked about this in this interview. But there's so people who are resilient and able to work with you are a key thing, and that doesn't come with overnight. It comes with experience. It comes with knowing how to deal with different issues, etc. So investing in people who are able to upskill themselves and do different parts of the kind of functions and roles within the organization. So sometimes you're working within technology, but you also have to know the commercial side of things. But if you're working in commercial side of things, you have to know actually what does it take to get there. And if you're working in commercial, you also have to know what does it take to deploy and scale the solution. So I think knowing this and working with people to upskill their skill set is really important. I think developing strong dynamic teams is kind of key to success in delivering a product and technology in healthcare.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, look, Hasib, many thanks for your time and great talking today. Great summary of your background, but also some great advice for entrepreneurs on their sort of healthcare journey. So lastly to the listeners, thank you as ever. Keen to hear your thoughts on the insights Hasib's provided. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed Talking Tech Journeys, and we'll catch you next time. Good company and colleagues in a career make the journey more rewarding. If you did enjoy, please take a moment to subscribe, rate and review us on your favourite podcast platform. It really helps us reach more listeners like you. Don't forget to follow and join the Talking Tech Journeys the podcast group on LinkedIn, where you can join in debate and message us directly if you'd like to be considered as a guest, have any questions, comments or topic suggestions. You can also email ben.whiteley@bpmtech.co.uk. Until next time, enjoy your journey.